Gary Mertig,
Here.
Kathy Schutte here, John Weiner, absent, Marty Vitek,
Yep.
Rich Huber.
Yes.
We have a quorum. Next, we need an approval for the minutes for the August 13th meeting. Anybody have any corrections or anything?
No.
Motion by Marty
I'll second it.
and seconded by Rich. Next, we have a request for public comments or invited guests.
Yes, Calvert.
Yes. Who wants to talk first?
There you go.
Okay, tell us who you are.
I'm John Westfall, I'm president of Smoky Mountain Retraders Snowmobile Club.
Can you spell your last name for me?
W-E-S-T-F-A-H-L.
Okay, thanks.
I just have a few questions. On the June 3rd meeting, when myself and Jeff Crown and a few others attended, it was told to us that we were going to be having a meeting between the Forestry Rec Department and the ACSA president to discuss issues, and was promised us, and nothing was ever, we've never received anything on that. We've been patiently waiting. I also noted that in the meeting notes, there was nothing that was in there about this, or nothing about the letter that was sent out to all the supervisors. So I'd like to have it noted that we would like to still have this meeting.
Okay.
We want to discuss these issues. Why isn't, why wasn't it followed up, and why wasn't it in the meeting notes from June 3rd? Also on August 5th, 20, you said August 13th, on the agenda, item 5 was snowmobile ATV trail business, by Mr. Huffman and Mr. Chandler. There are no meeting notes that we can see. We'd like to know what was discussed and what is going to happen, if possible. And also, I'd like to notice that there has been some improvement. There has been some brushing going on and stuff like that. I've noticed that, and Jeff has noticed that. There's a few things that's kind of concerning, is when they started brushing trails, they never completed a trail. I know on Trail 13, the pipeline actually south of Westlake Road down to what they call Buddha's T, that wasn't brushed, and there's a bridge on that section of trail that needs extensive repair. The guardrail on the side has actually fallen right off. So I know that has to be repaired, and I don't know what the status is. On Trail 13, there was discussion about a culvert going to be installed. I don't know what the status is on that. And also on Trail 11, there was going to be, the bridge was going to be redecked.
Nothing's been done.
So we'd just like to know what the plans are and stuff. The communication between the ACSA president and snowmobile clubs is minimal at best. We don't have any idea. We get input, or we're out and we're checking trails ourselves and we find out what's going on. I think there ought to be better communication between Mr. Huffman, Chandler, to the snowmobile clubs, to the presidents, stuff like that. That's all I got to say for now. I mean, winter's not that far away, Well, December 10th or whatever, we started packing trails last year, so think about it, that's only 10 weeks away, and there's still a lot of work that's got to be done. And if this meeting would have been held back in June, like we discussed, I mean, a lot of these issues, could have been addressed and could have been taken care of already.
Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I may be mistaken, but I believe at that last forestry meeting, we didn't discuss a lot because Bill wasn't here anyway.
Correct. The last meeting, there was nothing to report.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill wasn't here and I didn't have anything to report. As far as the meeting, that's my fault. I guess I misunderstood what we were doing. So we can have a meeting after this if you guys want to hang around. Bill will be here.
I can't today.
He can't, I got other commitments.
But that's my fault, I screwed that up. I will take responsibility for that. I misunderstood what we were doing.
The biggest concerns here are these bridges. They had all summer to help, now fall comes and everybody's so busy to help, how's it gonna get done?
Right.
Do we have any update as to Mr. Chandler? Is he staying on? Is he retiring? Or do we know anything about that?
I don't know, as far as the county position, the last time I talked to him, his intention was to stay on with the county position. He didn't know what he was gonna do at the alliance level, he didn't know if he'd get renominated or reelected anyhow, so
They never had another meeting.
We never had a meeting.
that I can't speak to
And
that.
all the meetings were called off because of the pandemic and stuff, so, and we never had another meeting. The re-election was supposed to happen earlier this year, but,
And Bill's health is so bad, he can't even hardly get out of the truck. When they go brushing, he sits in the truck, him and Kathy all day.
Well, I got the impression that he really didn't want to continue on as the president of the alliance, that he wanted to move on from that, he was gonna stay with the contracted position with the county, if he was able to do that.
You know, I think so. I got nothing against Bill, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to badmouth him, but somebody's gotta approach him and ask him if he can actually do the job.
right,
Because he can't get out of the car, I'm telling you.
right.
He has two people brushing for him, okay? And him and Kathy sit in the truck the whole day. I don't know if he's getting paid for just sitting there all day or what's going on here. I mean, these two people he's got, the one guy can go do it all by himself if they just let him, but they don't.
Well, another thing that's very irritating is the clubs that volunteer their labor, you know, and time to go, just get the equipment there, and we get neglected, or you'll call him and he won't call you back, you know, you wanted to have, you know, he wants to try to, we're trying to just build our trail systems to get it better, and we're getting nowhere, so,
I think somebody should go up and look at that bridge in Dry Lake and just look how bad it is. It needs to be fixed.
yes.
That the money was really there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
see,
he never did.
last year, when I was riding with Paul Hill, when we were grooming trails, the groomer, I mean, we pulled up decking, and I had my screw gun and stuff, and I had 8-inch screws, and the subframe below, it's all rotten, I don't know how you're gonna re-deck it. I mean, we patched it up and rebuilt. Yeah, it needs a complete rebuild. And, you know, and he did get a culvert down by that creek, but it was so wet, we couldn't get the culvert in, and he brought I don't know, probably a 30-inch culvert, in my opinion. You probably need something a lot bigger there, or put a bridge across it, then you can eliminate it completely. But,
A culvert probably would,
a culvert or multiple culverts, but
Yeah.
they have to be put in so they don't get washed away. That
Right.
section floods through there, so.
Chris, should we set up a meeting with them?
Yeah, we can do that. Like I said, I misunderstood back in June what we had talked about.
Yeah.
We can definitely have a meeting. There's not an issue with that at all. I misunderstood that. I didn't do it intentionally. I misunderstood what we were talking about, so.
But
Just we can do it about-
I still like to see you guys approach Bill and ask him if he's just capable of doing this.
Right,
I heard his heart's so bad he can't do it.
right.
Kathy drives him all over the place. And like I said, I understand, we need somebody that can get out and do this stuff.
Right,
I mean, we relocated trails and he don't even know where half of them are.
right.
And we relocated one and there's no signage, no nothing, we could've been doing all this.
And where they did the logging, just, south of Cayuga, where they clear cut through there, I mean, I called them and asked them, well, you know, we did put some signage up there, because where the trail was and then where the loggers went, I mean, anybody that's not familiar with the area, they could just drive off, they wouldn't know where the trail is, you know? So there's a lot of stuff that can be done, but you don't get no feedback or anything, so. That's what I'm saying, I agree with Jeff, I personally don't think he can handle the job anymore.
He should be asked that, I'm sorry, I don't wanna, I'm not saying, you know how it is, you don't
Yeah.
wanna,
Right.
but I don't think he can handle it.
No.
And you put these other guys on the insurance company, what I understand, so that they could go do some of this stuff by themselves, because he's running to the doctor all the time, this and that. But he won't let him go do nothing unless he's there all the time. So,
Well, I appreciate all you guys' input on everything. I'm sure that we can come up with a good solution on the next meeting here. And Chris is gonna be helpful to set up a meeting, and we'll get everybody on the Snowmobile and Alliance Club to come together and come to a good, happy meeting.
Isn't there an alliance meeting scheduled yet?
No,
This fall?
no.
Nothing's been said.
Chris, you don't have access to your calendar that we could set it, the date already.
Yeah, I'm wide open, whatever day works.
I can do it too.
Well, just let us know.
Yeah, if you can
Any
set
next
something
week
up.
would be good for me.
Yeah,
Anytime next week?
Yeah, I can't
I'm
today.
trying to think what I got going on.
I had too much work to do.
What about Wednesday,
What day is that?
the 14th?
I have an appointment at 10 o'clock.
Oh, we won't do that. Tuesday, the 13th?
I don't think I have anything going on that day. I don't know.
Chris, what about you?
That's fine.
So who's the meeting there's gonna be with? Chris, Snowmobile Alliance, me,
With the president and vice
I mean, the
president.
only question would be whether or not Bill can be there, but if Bill's not there, we can still have a meeting and put some issues together.
all right. Let me put this in here.
Maybe I could get, like the Climate Life people to come over and express their nice feelings of how they're doing over there and get the ideas, and it would be helpful.
And what time do we wanna do it for? Is 10 o'clock okay?
What you, you're going to.
It don't matter, whatever.
Chris, would 10 o'clock work for you?
Sure.
10 o'clock works for me.
On the 13th?
Yes, Tuesday the 13th.
Want to have it right here? We cross the street. Okay.
Alrighty,
That's all right with you guys.
question?
On this same issue, and I don't know about these snowmobile clubs and that, but is there anything being resolved about the one just out of Butternut? The trail?
What's happened?
Well, somebody said they can't go across the field, so where are they gonna go with the trail?
We're still working on that issue.
Okay. That's, I just wanted to bring it up.
We lost that section again, so I'm trying to figure out a reroute.
Okay.
Can you tell me who you are, please?
Dennis Wagner, W-E-G. I'm not here for that issue, I just was gonna ask.
Yeah. All right,
Okay, so we got,
Dennis?
I just wanna ask
yeah,
the
I gotta go to.
Forestry
Thank you very
Department,
much.
See you Tuesday.
Forestry Department, if we couldn't get a borrow pit on the Rodis line, so we could put like 6 inches of, just pit run, because, 4 inches of, crushed rock wouldn't even cover the rocks anymore. So, I was asking if, Camp 1, I don't know where, if you know where Camp 1 is, it's right on the end of, Nature Trail, where Nature Trail hits the Rodis line.
Okay.
And then there's a kind of a clearing right across that.
Yeah, I think that's all sand.
Oh,
That was originally a sand pit, I believe. We've got a pit location identified that the Forestry Department's working on putting together drainage maps for the permit application.
whereabouts is it?
It's just north of Nature Road on Colby John.
Yeah, see,
Harold and I dug test holes there
Yeah.
right before Harold retired, and there's really good material.
but the problem is mileage and trucking, all this stuff, all the way across.
Well, we can put the
it.
pit wherever we want, but that's where Terry, Darren, and I thought would be the best place to put the pit.
Yeah, but that was for a crush pit.
Well, it was for whatever kind of material they wanted to take out of it.
But the Rodis line is so bad now that they said they couldn't even grade it because there's nothing to grade no more, so we would like to try to find.
The problem Harold and I had on the Rodis grade is there's not a lot of good material to be had along the grade itself. That's why we went west. I mean, it's only a mile or a mile and a half across there. Yeah, it's a little bit further to move material, but there's an adequate supply of material there, and it's good material. Even the pit run is good quality stuff. So that was the plan, to develop a permitted pit there.
But,
Because we can't just dig a borrow pit. We have to have it permitted.
yeah, but, we were wondering if we couldn't get something on the Rodas line so we could just haul it. 'Cause
Well, if we can-
that's a lot of ground that.
If we can find something on the Rodas grade, but Harold and I couldn't. But if somebody else has got a better idea of where we could put it, yeah, that's fine.
Cause the one there where they got the pulp piled and that's all just rock, that's gotta be a crush pit.
Right.
So, that's the only thing I had just to see if
Yeah,
the
Darren-
county couldn't find a pit for us.
Darren and I have been working on it for the last year to try to find the best location, and that's the spot that we've been working on. Because we put one on the Rodas grade, then it's gonna be a long ways to haul if we wanna go to Colby John or Silver Creek. You know, it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of another, so that's why we picked that location, a little more central to go further up Silver Creek then too.
What about the one right where the S curve is, where it's just nothing but rocks on there's a knoll, and it's like an S curve, it's all, the whole road is just rocks. I always said, set the crusher up right in the middle of the road and crush the hill away, and
That's kind of in the area that we're looking at. Are you talking on Colby John?
no, this is right on Nature Trail. It's about right in the middle of Nature.
Oh, you know, they cleared that for a pit at one time, before I got here. They actually took all the overburden off and everything, and when they got down underneath the overburden, it was all sand there too.
Okay.
That's why they didn't put that pit there. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, that would've been like 20 or 25 years ago, they tried to put a pit there, and it was all sand.
Oh, Jenna was just wondering how our pit was coming along so that we could start dumping.
We're working on it.
Okay, so that's all I had, just,
All right, thank you, Dennis.
okay, I can report back to the rest of the crew then, so.
All right.
And if you can let them know how it is, call Terry and what the progress is on it, so.
Yep, we're just gonna finish the drainage map, and then the highway department, Matt Erickson at the highway department said that would be all we need for the permit then.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to number 5, the snowmobile ATV trail, Bill Chandler and Chris Hoffman.
I don't have anything to report. Bill called this morning, he's hauling a piece of equipment and have it repaired. One of their brushing mowers is broke down, so that's why he's not here. But he said they've been out brushing and making repairs to trails, so I guess that's what he had to report this morning. I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So let's go to number 6, Bruce Jonas.
For the rec report from August 1st through September 30th, there is 17 ATV citations and 39 warnings. We've had a couple of ATV trespass disorderly conduct where they're kind of tearing up the gravel roads. Took care of one complaint where we had a report of cutting timber on MFL property. It ended up citations for illegal timber cutting, timber theft, and ultimately we drafted a warrant for a vehicle, and we took 2 chainsaws out, one of them was stolen. The second one may be too, but we just haven't confirmed that yet. Other than that, there's been just an uptick with, especially over in Clam Lake, with ATVs, and they seem to be making longer trips now. I'm assuming because of COVID, they're getting their extra money, or we're getting their extra money, and doing a lot of riding. There's been really no other ATV complaints. We've had a few complaints with on the border of White River, town of White River, and Bayfield County. I think it's town of Kelly. There's been a few deer that have been shot over there, and then we believe there are some kids that are chasing down deer with their vehicle and running them over now.
Oh, heaven's sakes.
So we've been trying to, along with the DNR State Patrol, we've been trying to have a bigger presence over there right now.
All right, any other, Bruce, is that it?
Yep.
And anybody got questions for Bruce? I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
We have grandkids that are deer hunting and we're taking them to deer stands on four-wheelers. If we travel on a road, do they have to have a helmet? We don't have little kids anymore, so we don't know this.
When you're hunting, no. When you're when the act of hunting, you don't have to have helmets.
Okay. But if they're gonna go down the road to visit the neighbors, we have a neighbor that lives half a mile down the road, then they have to have a,
For a certain, between the age of 12 and 16, they have to be accompanied by an adult. Which means they have to be followed by an adult, whether you're in a
Okay.
vehicle or another off-road vehicle.
it's a 12-year-old boy.
Then he would have to be, he has to have the certificate.
Oh, and he has to have a certificate and a helmet? And somebody following him?
Correct.
An adult.
Yes.
Thank you. We got work to do. All right, anything else? Thank you, Bruce. Fish biologist.
None of the DNR people are allowed to attend any public meetings, so.
COVID.
And they have no reports, they didn't get any reports because of COVID, correct?
We should maybe call them and ask if they could at least send a report by email and we could at least read it, because, you know, a lot of people can't come to meetings in person, but I'm sure they're not sitting at home not working, so it would be nice to have a report. Even if it's a paragraph or two, doesn't have to be detailed, just,
We could try.
I heard you're the miracle worker.
Yeah, that's me.
All right, and then the wildlife biologist, Jenna, same thing?
Same thing.
COVID.
I can add for Joe Rennick under the Forestry report. Sarah Stack, our liaison that we had been working with, has left and gone to Oregon. He's filling in her role temporarily. They did open that position up to lateral transfers, and he said there were 3 people who expressed interest in that. So
Is he one of them?
What's that?
Is he one
I
of
don't
them?
think so. He likes doing the fire stuff. So hopefully by the time the pandemic's done, they'll have somebody to replace Sarah.
I heard that's next August.
Kathy, could I add one more thing I forgot?
Yeah,
We had a fatal on Labor Day weekend.
Oh,
ATV crash on 169.
and that was in Clam Lake? No,
Melon.
Mellon, oh yeah. All right, thank you, Bruce. Let's see, let's go to 10, the Forestry's Administrator's Report.
Okay, the first item, everybody should have got a copy of the annual report. We produced the annual report as part of the Forest Administrator's Grant. It documents everything that we did last year. It's a general report, it doesn't get super specific, but obviously we can answer any questions, but it breaks down the work that we did, and it also breaks down the timber sales, the volumes, the revenue. And then at the very back should be attached the work plan for this year, which obviously we're mostly ready to at this point, but.
At the county board meeting yesterday, they were asking for an update for where we are, for how much money we've taken into forestry. Would you have an update for that?
We are at approximately, because we have billings out right now, we're at approximately $540,000.
And our goal was 7?
Which means we have to do $67,000 for the next 3 months to meet that.
Not gonna happen.
Well, you never know.
The weather would stay nice and we wouldn't get too much
If
rain.
it would stop raining, that would help a lot.
I got a question for, like, on Long Lake Road. They were logging here.
Yep.
Okay, and the decks are right on the edge of the road,
Yep.
and nothing's moving. So, I mean, what happens to that stuff? Is it sits there, or who's responsible for that?
Well, responsible is probably a gray area. The county owns it until it's paid for.
Okay,
So technically, it's still the county's wood. because we don't get paid for it until it gets hauled and delivered.
Yes, that's what I figured, yeah.
Responsibility question would be, that'd be a gray area as far as who would be responsible for it.
Okay,
But
because, well, I mean, let's say like, that's a fire lane. So let's say you had the tanker go pull in the cat, I don't even know if it would have a hard time getting through there. You know, in some spots where they got it all decked up. And if somebody hit it, who would be responsible for that? Like, let's say a snowmobile hit it, or a car or something, or... And they came after, who would they come after, us, or would
they come after everybody.
Well, yeah, so I was just wondering how long that stuff can sit there without, after the sale's done, do they have so much time to get rid of the wood, or how's that?
Well, they have a contract, the contract's 2 years.
Okay.
So they have to meet those obligations within that contract period. But that wood is sitting there because they don't have anywhere to take it right now.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I can understand.
Because of the paper mill closing down in Wisconsin Rapids. So as those conditions improve, hopefully that wood will be gone.
Okay.
And I can provide a little update on that. The Verso mill in Duluth has been purchased.
Oh,
They're not gonna be buying any roundwood, however. They're only gonna be doing recycled paper in Duluth. There has not been any activity for the mill in Wisconsin Rapids yet. However, there is a group of loggers that have formed a co-op, and they are in negotiations with Verso to purchase the paper mill in Wisconsin Rapids, and they hope, if everything goes the way they have planned, they hope to be buying wood again before the end of the year.
okay.
So there's some hope that something might happen in Verso, because everybody's dealing with this problem of not being able to move hardwood pulp.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The paper mill in Park Falls is buying wood. They're producing pulp. They are selling wet lap. They hope to be producing paper sometime in the month of October.
Ooh.
Whether that actually happens or not remains to be seen, but that's their business plan right now. They are actively buying hardwood pulp on the open market, but they're not paying very much for it because they don't have to. So we're not seeing a large volume of hardwood pulp moving into the Park Falls mill at this point. But they're buying that pulp to trade with a pulp mill up in Minnesota for white birch.
Oh, okay.
They haven't gotten to the point where they're going to be running hard maple in Park Falls yet. Their plan is to run hard maple in Park Falls, but they've not got to that point yet.
But that's actual logs, because somebody said the only thing they're taking is chips.
No, they're taking logs.
Oh,
They're
okay,
taking logs.
okay.
So there is some positives on the horizon for hardwood pulp, which would address issues like pulp left on jobs.
Yeah.
But as of this moment, there's not a lot of hardwood pulp moving out of northern Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Is there anything in there, I'm sure you have to sign a contract when you buy stuff from the county, from the woods, but, is there anything stating that they have, I mean, how come they don't have a landing inside the woods instead of piling them off alongside the road?
So the contract says they can talk to the township, and if the township agrees to allow them to deck along the road, they can deck
They can do
along.
that? Oh, okay.
Don't they have to give some, like, money up front that they've,
Well, there's all kinds of contractual obligations,
Yeah.
you know, as far as down payments and that kind of thing, but as far as decking on the road, if the township will agree to allow them to do it, then we allow them to do it.
Okay.
Because it's the town road. If the town says no, then they have to build landings in the timber sale itself.
Okay.
Unless there's been wood, placed there or moved or something different, the last time that I went through there, I didn't feel that they weren't blocking the road any.
No, and the road isn't hardly traveled at all, but I was just wondering if something happened, if somebody, you know, like even if it sits there during the winter, a snowmobile goes through there and hits it, or if a vehicle hits it, or...
Well, in fact, I think they have posted on either end, don't they have logging up?
Yeah, they do,
slow down
yeah,
or
logging,
something like
yeah.
that, so.
You'll find out in the report that the snowmobile shouldn't have been drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If he hits a log pile,
yeah.
he's got a
But
problem.
the obvious desire is to get it moved as fast
Yes,
as you
yeah.
can, so.
I mean, the roads aren't traveled hardly at all anyway, but I mean, I was just thinking about whose liability for that, or how they, or why they do that, so but you answered my question, so.
I have a question.
Marty?
I got a little sticker shock last week. I went to buy some treated
fence posts and some treated 4x4s. And I finally tracked some down at a reasonable price up at Jim's up in Glidden there. And I ended up paying $18 for an 8-foot 4x4, you know? And Jim said, that ain't nothing. He said, wait to try to buy some OSB. He said, that's when you're done with the tax and everything, you're up to $30 for a sheet of it. What's going on there? What's the scoop?
There's several things going on. Obviously, COVID is going on, so that has affected some production streams and production lines. There's been mills that have had to go down because of COVID infections with employees, so their production is slackened up. But from what I've read and what I've been told, one of the big things is so many people have been laid off during the summer because of COVID that they're doing projects at home or at their
Yes.
vacation property or whatever that they typically wouldn't have done because they didn't have the time. And since they have the time, they're doing that kind of work now. You can't buy a piece of green tree in Park Falls right now. It physically doesn't exist in town, let alone what they charge for it. But so there's been a variety of things that have come into play, and then put on top of that the wildfires out west, the hurricanes down south. OSB, when you get a fire or a hurricane, OSB is the first thing that gets brought up for, sealing buildings and stuff. So that helps us, and we're able to sell our aspen because OSB is all aspen. But then that drives the price up.
Yeah.
It's just a supply and demand situation.
Okay.
All right, timber sale approval?
Yeah, because we don't know how often we're gonna have meetings and stuff, we thought as long as we're getting together, I would ask for approval to advertise timber sales next month for bid opening in December.
I'll make a motion that we do that.
I'll second it.
Motion is, and seconded. Question?
Yes, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Who gets together and determines the timber harvest?
So we used to maintain a giant 3-ring binder of all of our recon data for all of our timber stands on the county forest.
Yeah, but I mean, who's the person that says, okay, we are gonna do 10,000 acres of hardwoods, or how's that broke down, and who makes the decisions on that?
Well, we make those decisions, but
Who's
it's
we?
the forestry department, the forestry staff.
Forestry department?
Yep. The acreage that we look at on an annual basis is generated through a computer database that the state maintains for us. So we've taken all of our recon data that we used to keep in the big 3-ring binder. We've entered that into this database that the state maintains. We set parameters on each particular timber type of when we want to go back and look at it, when we want to revisit that timber for another potential harvest. And then on an annual basis in the fall, we run a cutting schedule, and that generates a list of stands on the county forest that for the next year that we're going to go and look at, and we're going to do evaluations on to make determinations on whether or not it's ready to be harvested. If it's ready to be harvested, we put it on the establishment list, and we go through the process of setting that timber up, bidding it out and selling it and putting it under contract. If it's not ready to be harvested, we take the data that we've gathered and we crunch that, and we generate a best guess on when that stand is going to be ready to be harvested, and we put it back into that database to come back in. It might be 2 years, it might be 20 years, depending on the stand and what's happened to it since the last time we ran it. And then that database puts that stand and that acreage back in to its equations, and then it generates, next year when we go back to run that harvested, it'll generate us another between 1,000 and 1,500 acres of property to go and look at and make decisions on.
Do you run maximum capacity, you try to keep that, or you keep in the middle more, or you run high, low, medium?
We're somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit higher than the actual middle, but we're definitely not
You don't want to go...
peaked out. We don't want to get to that point.
That would...
We want to maintain a workload that the 3 of us can handle on an annual basis. We also there's no reason to put up more timber for sale than what can be sold and cut. So the local timber market dictates sometimes how much timber you're going to put up for offer, because it doesn't pay to sell it and put it on the books under contract if it's not reasonable that it's going to be able to be cut in that time. So it's a balancing act of a whole variety of different variables that drives exactly how much property we're gonna sell on an annual basis and exactly what it's gonna be.
Is there any more forestry that around this area that could be bought and made it any more national forest? That could be bordered to us that we could actually buy and take over somehow?
The national forest, we can't. I mean, that would take an act of Congress, not to sound cliche, but it would take an act of Congress. There are property in holdings within the county forest, big industrial blocks within the county forest that we could potentially purchase and put into management. The old Bessie lands, from the Bessie veneer mill that was here. There's old consolidated property that still exists within the county forest. And then there's private in holdings, the random 40 or 80 acres that the private individuals have that they're looking to divest of, that they have for sale, that we could purchase and put into county forest management.
So you are looking forward for different ideas?
We're always looking for an opportunity to somehow increase our revenue stream if we can. And, you know, if we buy a piece of property within the county forest, technically it works out to be less work for us because we don't have to maintain property lines around it anymore. We don't have to maintain access roads to it anymore. It can just blend right into the whole county forest. And so some of the ancillary work that we would have to do to maintain that private property, we don't have to do anymore once we purchase it. So it streamlines our operations somewhat too if we do purchase a piece of property.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yep.
That would also increase, increase recreational opportunities too, I
It
suppose.
will, it will.
You don't have to worry about hunting on somebody else's.
Correct.
Yeah.
The more contiguous the block is, the less the recreational person has to worry about trespass. Oh, geez, I'm on so-and-so's property when I thought I was on county land. So yeah, we're always looking for those opportunities when they present themselves, but, you know, it takes capital to be able to do that, and we all know that we're
And if
kind of strapped right now.
there's any way that Ashland County can help you out, or any of us can help you out, I'd sure appreciate you let us know. So-
And as we develop opportunities, I always bring them to this committee first, so that this committee knows what's going on, and if there's an opportunity to make a purchase, obviously I need your guys' support before I go to the county board to try to get the county board support, so everything will come here first as we develop those chances.
Thank you.
All right, so the approval for the timber sales has been motioned and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I don't have much else to report on. I gave you the timber revenue. If it stays dry or we get an early freeze up, there is the remote possibility we could get to $750,000 this year. But I'm not gonna bet my next paycheck on it. It never seems to work that way.
Oh, they haven't sent him the memo about the next paycheck. Oh, I didn't read your emails this morning, did you?
We do have a lot of the out-of-state bird hunters are here now. We get lots of people that come from out of state to take advantage of Ashland County hunting opportunities. We start to see lots of license plates out in the woods right now. And so for the next 4 or 5 weeks, there'll be a lot of strange people out in the county forest bird hunting and taking advantage of that, which, you know, that's our secondary revenue stream to the county. We, you know, between sales tax and room tax and that kind of thing, we try to take advantage of as much of that as we can as well, so.
And that,
We've received several phone calls already this fall about the quality of bird hunting that we provide at the county forest, so.
Are there any birds out there? I
There
haven't
are
seen
a lot of birds.
Lot of
Really?
birds.
I haven't seen any.
It's, in 25 years, I haven't seen this many birds.
Really?
I'm
I just
serious.
talked to a guy from central Illinois yesterday that was up last weekend. They didn't get out last Thursday until after lunch, and before they quit in the evening, they had put up over 40 birds.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
not that way at my house.
No,
You're too hard on them, you gotta leave
Yeah.
them go. You gotta have seed.
John?
is there, like, who's responsible for like checking out things like that? Is that the recreation officer or a warden to?
As far as checking out what?
To check on, make sure people got their license
Oh, yeah,
and all that.
that'd be a
kind of stuff.
conservation warden's job.
Conservation
We
warden?
make contact with people when we find them at our trailheads or in our gravel pits or whatever, you know, if I run into somebody, I always stop and visit with them and see how they're doing, and you know, what they're finding, and if there's something, you know, I'm always listening for things that we can improve on and try to bring them back. Our goal is to bring them back every year, to get them to come here and find out that Ashland County is a good place to go bird hunting. So they come back year after year.
Appreciate that, helping them people like that. It's
Well,
really nice.
absolutely. I mean, like I said, that's our alternate revenue stream that we can produce for the county, is bringing those people here for recreation, whether it's bird hunting or snowmobiling or bow hunting or bear hunting or whatever. So we want to try to maximize that. So when I have the opportunity, and any of the staff have the opportunity to interact with those people, we always stop and visit with them. We give them sportsman's maps. We've got a map up that we hand out and, you know, point them in the right direction to make sure they have a successful time over here.
Wonderful.
As far as the licensing and things like that, that would fall to the conservation warden. If they're using four-wheelers or something like that, then they might have contact with Bruce at that point.
So they can legally four-wheel any place in the Forest Service, I mean,
In the county forest, they can legally four-wheel anywhere that we don't have signed otherwise. We only have a couple roads right now that we have signs on because of invasive species. But everything else, as long as they stay on the roads, they can go anywhere they want in the county forest. Town roads, forest roads, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
thank you.
I have a quick question for Bruce. Maybe you can guide me to the right direction. Town of Marengo is having trouble with a large amount of beavers on Haino Road. Is that something that you can look into, or does that have to go to,
I think they've contracted with, talk to Todd, because they've had to do it like up on Fox Farm Road before. They contract with somebody that they get, I don't know if it's through the DNR, or if it's just a person that does it for the county.
okay,
In the past, that's what they've done before, is that there are people that will go out and trap these for the townships,
okay,
and Todd would probably know who that person is.
okay,
A lot
yeah,
of the municipalities take advantage of the APHIS trappers. They're a federal trapper.
And that may be one of the,
They do work for us on the county forest if we have issues. We contact you with the
Yeah.
trapper.
you gotta go?
I got to go, otherwise Bruce will be chasing me to the county line. I'm already half hour late.
Thanks, Gary.
Yes.
Have a good day.
So let's make a note that John Wiener came in at about 5 minutes after 8, and Gary's leaving at, what time is it?
5 after 8. No.
8:39. Thank you. Any other business?
I want to talk about come up with beavers. I know the guys from our town have been calling that trapper from the, Warbury show. And he's been out there before and they can't, he's so busy they can't hardly catch
That is a
him.
big problem with the APHIS trappers, is they get
Yeah.
really busy. They get really busy.
And the other thing, oh, go ahead, John. I just wanted to ask you, do you have anybody borrowing birch poles yet?
We have not seen a lot of that activity in the last year or so. I can't answer exactly why. I'm assuming it's just because we look for it more and they know that. So it's been fairly quiet. With everything going on right now, with people being laid off and stuff, and bough cutting starting now, we may start to see a little more of it, but we'll be on the lookout for it, so. But that seems to have quieted down, at least in Ashland County, it's quieted down.
That's good.
Probably because it's all gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Oh.
people got enough of it.
Wow, maybe you scared them off.
I hope so, I hope so.
John?
I have one other thing, is the reason I'm late is because I haven't received any agenda in the mail in the last 2 meetings, so the only way I found out this meeting was happening is to Kathy yesterday. So if I could at least get the agenda sent to me.
Absolutely.
Do you still want to mail hard copy, because you have the email address that's on the county?
I don't have an email, it has to be sent to me.
Okay, so that's an email that's on the county website?
It's John Reader, Glidden.
Yeah, it says that you have the email that's run by Ashland County,
Oh,
so that's what I was going after. If you still want a hard
okay.
copy, I will get a hard copy.
sorry about that, I think they did make a mistake on my
Okay.
part of it too.
Okay,
so.
I will make sure it gets hard copy to you then.
We'll get you a hard copy. of it.
Okay, I was just reading through,
Thank you so
they
much.
have a list of all the supervisors, and it had
Right.
an Ashland County email for you, so I just used that email.
Oh,
Oh, we'll
so you can just send it to my
I'll
address.
send hard
then.
copy from now on.
You can do the same thing for me too,
Okay,
so.
okay.
And me.
I'll make a note of
It
that.
says I got an Ashland County email, but I don't.
Okay,
Just use my regular email.
use your, yep, okay.
It should be on the county board list, I think.
Yeah.
Do you want to email it, Rich, or do you want it in the mail?
I like it in the mail.
I mean, we can do whatever is easiest for you guys.
I don't have a computer, that's why.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll get you our.
Definitely hard
Yeah,
copy.
hard copy be better, I
Usually,
guess.
I get my agenda stuff 2 or 3 days before a meeting, and I look at it, and I'm prepared for the meeting.
Okay.
Every
Okay,
time I
yeah,
print
would
something
agree.
off, and it goes halfway through and I have trouble with it, so I.
Yeah.
That's easy.
No,
Thank you
I'll
so
send it
much.
on the Understanding, because the county's got everybody's,
Yeah.
Ashland County email
Yeah.
on it, so I just took
Yeah.
for
Oh,
granted that
sure.
everybody did that. But,
Yeah.
okay, from
Sorry
now on,
about
hard
that.
copy.
There's three of us three are right here, the ones that don't have a,
Well, I have email, but I
Oh.
would much rather get a hard copy.
Oh, I
'Cause then I
see.
make notes on it and stuff like that. But
Oh.
Tom, I'll give you an example. I got the thing in the mail on Friday at 3:30.
Okay.
Just the last Friday, but do you remember when you mailed them out?
I sent one on Wednesday.
And we got it on Friday. All right, so that wasn't too bad.
every time we had a board meeting, I haven't, send that to me right away. I
Yeah.
never got one on time yet.
No, I don't either from the
I get the day
county.
of the board meeting mostly.
Because it has to go to the mail in Ashland by 1 o'clock. And if it's 1:10, or it's 10 after 1, it don't go out that day. It sits for another day in the mailbox.
You can't hardly trust, the mail is not what it used to be.
The mail
it's
is not
really
what it
bad.
used to be.
I'm still waiting for a belt that was shipped on August 12th.
Really?
Yeah.
And email isn't really reliable either, you guys. You need a lot of luck for something to go through on
Well, if you're in
email.
the country, yeah, it'd be.
Well, we have fiber optics and we're still having
Oh,
a
really? Oh.
lot of issues with it.
Oh, okay.
Well, we'll get hard copies to you guys.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
That sounds good.
Good deal. All right, so let's approve and sign the expense vouchers. We need a motion for that.
So moved.
Moved by Marty,
I'll second
seconded by John. All those in favor?
it.
Aye.
Aye. We'll set the date for the next meeting. If you guys can make a note somewhere that we will start the winter hours at 9 o'clock in the morning instead of 8. So, if the plows aren't out quite a way early in the morning, which sometimes happens, we'll be on winter hours. I guess that's what we'll call them, winter hours. And that will be November 3rd. How does that work for everybody else?
I have November 4th.
It is the 4th. Thank you, Marty. You're listening.
It says right here.
Yes. I was reading it.
Yep, November 4th.
November 4th at
Alright.
9 o'clock at the new winter hour time.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So next thing, anything else that we need to talk about?
No, I'm happy with everything turned out today, along with the snowmobile clubs and
Yeah, I
everything.
apologize for that. I misunderstood the whole meeting thing. I thought they were gonna arrange the meeting. I didn't realize that they were
Okay.
waiting for me to arrange it, so.
They've kept asking me,
done.
when are we having the meeting? And
Yeah.
so
I
that's
was
why I
kinda
kind
waiting for something too, but I
of
never-
said it today, so we got it.
Just, kind of off the record, what's your guess on when this whole snowmobile business will settle down into some sort of a routine operation? Seems to be an awful lot of, it's been going on for years.
Off the record,
Yeah.
at the end of the season probably, the end of this upcoming season. On the record, it'll never stop. Nobody's ever happy. There's always somebody that's not happy with something that's going on.
Yeah.
It's just, you involve multiple personalities into a project where you gotta have one or two people that are controlling everything so that it's organized and it gets done and people's feelings get hurt and
No.
it's a perpetual thing. It comes and goes. It is kind of what it is. I talked to other counties and they have very similar issues to what we have, and somebody gets old and gets out of snowmobiling, and somebody young retires and moves to the area and gets into snowmobiling, and they have a different idea of the way things should be done, and
Yeah.
it perpetuates itself, but it comes and goes, it ebbs and flows, but
That kind of stuff is kind of inevitable, I agree with what you're saying. But it just seems that in this instance, that it seems to be just the same, what's
Same
the
thing.
right word? Same thing over and over and over.
Yeah,
and I think that'll be resolved by the end of this snowmobile.
Because nothing's getting done, it seems like. I mean, it's just, because of one person, nothing gets done. That isn't right either,
Yeah.
so. I hope that on the 13th, we can resolve all this and get,
And I really appreciate the time and the effort you put in for talking to people and trying to do the best you can.
I try.
I know it's probably one of the
Sometimes I don't do
toughest
best
jobs
at
there
all.
are, but, you know, try to make everybody happy is very hard, but thank you.
And my goal is to not have everybody be happy, but to have everybody be comfortable.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's my goal. Because like you said, I don't think I can ever make everybody happy, so
No, you'll never do that.
I'll be happy if we're all flowing in the same
You
direction.
can try to start, Chris.
Alrighty, so we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Marty makes the
I'll
motion.
second it.
John will second it. All those in favor?
All right?
Aye. Meeting adjourned.